Who are you?
My name is Jessica.
How did you know Isabel?
She was my granny.
Describe Isabel in 3 words.
Small, feisty, and very caring.
What's your most cherished memory of her?
There's way too many. Probably bringing my CD player up on a Saturday. I can't believe I'm saying this. Bringing my CD player up on a Saturday and having LMC versus U2 take me to the clouds above one, and we used to play it on repeat all day Saturday and dance around the living room.
Okay. What's your funniest memory of her?
Probably the day we all went to Torhead.
And what happened to
Yes,
Torhead?
I want to use this one. We went to Torhead and she was in the back of the Jeep and Daddy put soft suspension on. And if anybody's been to Torhead, they know the road's a wee bit bumpy, shall we say. And in the back of the car she was using quite a word that Granny wouldn't use because Granny didn't curse, so I just want to say SH1T. And then she blamed Daddy because it was all his fault.
What did she mean to you?
Well, my granny was my best friend, so like my granny meant the world to me. She was always there.
What did she mean to you?
Okay, if anybody doesn't know, I had a rude interruption there. One of the kids came in. She was my best friend and she meant the world to me. She was always there. I could go and hide in her house and have a smoke. Mum and Dad even know. Sorry, Daddy. It was all Granny's fault. There's not much I can say, like I just idolised her really, so.
Okay. In your eyes, what was her biggest achievement?
I would probably say keeping 3 boys in the 80s out of as much trouble as she could. Granted, boys will be boys and climb out windows and drive cars very fast and have motorbikes and do all sorts, but for the time that she had them and the time and the era it was, they grew up out of a lot of nonsense, let's just say.
Okay. What will you remember her for?
That's a really hard question. Well, for being my grandma, really. Do you know? So she was the only granny I knew, the only granny I had. Not that I would have wanted any other granny, but I would just know her for being her and being there for everybody and being my best friend. Oh, and the cat box.
If you were to pick one item that you always remembered her having, what would it be?
Apart from her fags. The bubblegum juice in the cabinet. The special bubblegum juice, or if you want to use that one, then I will pick her chair in the corner, because it was Granny's house with her chair and her ice tray in the corner, or a boat.
Okay. Did she ever inspire you?
Yes. We would have been a lot of times where you would have got knocked down as a kid, really, especially living down here. So she would have helped you and inspired you to get back up and just keep going and to follow your dreams. Oh, and another thing, whenever you were getting bullied, you had to talk big, because if you talk big, then they would all back down and go for the biggest one. Is that why I'm so much of a big mouth now, is it?
Are you blaming Granny that you're a big mouth?
I think I am, because she always told me to talk big, so now I have to shout at everybody.
Okay.
Happy birthday, Granny. Oh, sorry, happy 90th birthday, Granny. Love you and miss you loads.
I'm Noreen Cahoon. I was Isabel's niece and goddaughter. Isabel was a lovely, loving and adventurous person. My most cherished memory of her, well, memories, was when my mum went to the world to live. She came down and visited me every Friday in Carrickfergus to listen, give me advice and keep me sane. My funniest memory of Isa was in the Harp Bar in Dublin. We'd been to see the river dance, and of course it wouldn't be a Mahard outing unless we went to a pub. So there was Isa, Lorraine and Mum and I all in the bar. We were in cocktails, Isabel was in Adam's ale. Off I went to the loo, and when I come back there was a big space in the middle of the bar and there was Isabel jiving with a young, handsome priest. It's true, I lie not. The only thing was, he was with a stag party and they were all dressed as priests. It was hilarious. I think Isabel's biggest achievement in her life was her life. She lived it to the full, with her health problems, with only having one kidney for most of her life. Also, she was widowed at a very young age with 3 young sons who became 3 lovely young men, and of course all her contribution to the community. I remember Isabel for the person who kept the family together after Granny and Granny died, for telling you how it was, not what you wanted to hear, for her big heart and a hard hand, according to Brian. She inspired me to live my life to the full, and age is not an obstacle. So here's to you, Isabel. Bye.
Hi, I'm Lorraine. Isabel was my aunt, my dad's big sister. I remember Isabel as a kind, caring and compassionate woman. I would have to say my cherished memory of her would be whenever I had my first son, Owen, and given my circumstances, I thought people would be a bit judgmental, especially those that maybe went to church every week. But Aunt Isabel came up and she was lovely, welcomed Owen into the family and told me not to worry about anything, everything would work itself out and everything would be fine. And I have to say she was right. My funniest memory I suppose would be Isabel coming to one of Mum and Dad's famous fancy dress parties, dressed as Hiawatha. And I just have visions of her sitting there with her wee cup of tea, a wee cigarette in her hand, her brothers and sisters making absolute idiots of themselves, partying hard round her along with the rest of the family, and her just sitting happy and contented in the middle of it all. I will remember her as a huge part of the Maharg family, head of the family, but shortest of the family. The Maharg family are obviously a big part of my life and my childhood growing up, and Aunt Isabel was right up there with them all. The thing I would say that I would remember most about her is that, her hearing about all of her community work and what she tried to do to improve the community around her. Great wee woman for doing that. And finally, I'd have to say the thing that inspired me most is, maybe I didn't realise it when I was younger, but having now 3 boys of our own, it's a struggle to bring 3 boys up with a father there, but Aunt Isabel had to do that all, sadly, on her own. But not only that, during the height of the Troubles.
Hello, my name's Gary Jouliffe, and I am talking a little bit on this video about my Aunt Isabel. She was my mother's sister. My mother was Wilhelmina, known as Mina, and Isabel used to live fairly close to Granny and Grandad in the village in Belfast. And I just have, we never lived in Belfast, but we used to visit, especially when I was younger. And I have these very, very strong memories of playing around with the boys, with Bill and Brian and Paul, with Noel, with Noreen, with Lynn, with the cousins, hanging around that part of town, running over to Ebor Drive, always a welcome from Isabel, always a warmth and a big heart and a big smile, getting chip butties at Beatty's and going over for a cup of tea and a lemonade or something. And it was part of the family. Hannah lived fairly close by as well, and of course it was Granny and Grandad. And there was so much fun, so much love, so much warmth and welcome there. And that is an abiding memory for me. And I think Isabel was a strong woman. I think she did, it was very extraordinary how, in very difficult times in Belfast in the 70s, she helped raise 3, I think, fine young men, not quite so young anymore. And I think she was strong. I think she was very influential in the community. She had a big heart. I'll always remember her with a great deal of fondness and love. and I was very grateful to be able to know her. But sad that she's no longer with us. Anyway, those are the few inadequate words I have to say about my Aunt Isabel.
Who are you?
I'm Kither Juliff. I'm the brother-in-law of Isabel Johnson.
And how did you know Isabel?
How? Because I married her sister Mina, who was my wife, and I've known Isabel since 1957.
Can you describe Isabel in 3 words?
A good woman.
That was 3 words, well done. So, just because you're a bit older than everyone else being interviewed, what was it like? What was Isabel like when she was younger?
Again, a very good, hard-working, conscientious woman. Not overly religious, but very aware of the benefits of a Christian upbringing.
Do you remember her ever being in any sort of trouble? Any mischief with any of her siblings or anything?
Never, ever.
Never in any trouble?
Never, ever, ever.
What's your funniest memory that involves Isabel, if you can remember?
I don't know. She had a funny sense of humour, but I can't remember anything particularly hilarious. She was
just funny all the time?
Yes, she was nice and pleasantly funny all the time.
And do you have one memory in particular that you cherish with Isabel?
Yes, she was married to Harry Johnson, who worked for the Ulster Railways, but he suffered from tuberculosis, and he died quite young, leaving Isabel with 3 young boys to bring up on her own. And this was the days before people were allowed to work different hours, so she had to do part-time jobs such as cleaning to fit around with taking the boys to and from school. And I do remember her saying one day, shortly after Harry had died, that she fancied a glass of sherry to tighten back her a bit cheerful. And she said she just thought, if I had 1 glass, I should have 2 or 3 glasses. But I'm here to look after my 3 boys.
Obviously, other than bringing up the boys, what would you say her biggest achievement was?
Being very much involved in the cross-border troubles between Dublin and Belfast during the recent political upset and terrorism and whatnot that existed in Northern Ireland for some 20 odd years. She was very much involved with the church, between the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church, and with politicians in both Dublin and Belfast, and very well thought of.
What do you mostly remember her for?
She was very tiny, very tiny compared to, I mean, they were a tall family.
Especially Hannah.
Yes, Hannah and Maya and the 2 boys or 3 boys were tall. And Gladys,
Isabel.
Isabel was the missing link somewhere. She was a tiny little girl of like 5'5", or 5'1" or 2, if that.
Do you ever remember Isabel carrying or always having on her one specific item? Like always just having something on her?
Probably a handbag, but I don't know. I can't say it's something that any man would really notice.
And can you pinpoint anything specifically that Isabel ever did to inspire you?
Yes, I think she was extremely hardworking, upright, conscientious, and dedicated to our family.
And that inspired you?
And that inspired me to try to be the same.
That's it, you're done.
Right, okay. Is that all right?
Yeah.